items in the house that have got those stickers on. But how do you know that if you've bought something that you think is unsafe?
Yeah.
What do you do? Because as we've said, it's hard to tell.
Well, I'd go and take it to a shop and see actually if it compares to another product, for example.
For more details on what Louise just discussed there, and for advice on free home fire safety checks, you can visit bbc.co.uk Morning Live. Lots of info on there for you.
And if you want to save money on your heating rather than looking at cheap electricals, you could always insulate your windows. We will be finding out the best and the most cost-effective ways to do that.
A very hot topic in the headlines. Has fibre taken over protein as the next big health trend? There's the headline. It says it all. It's just disappeared as I pointed to it. Did you see that?
Yes.
Is fibre the new protein? It says. Xand, what's all this about?
So look, if you're my age, you'll remember low-fat, low-cholesterol diets in the 80s and 90s, turning into low-carb, low-sugar diets. Then for the next sort of in the 2000s, until very recently, really ongoing, a huge obsession with adding more protein to our diets. And now fiber's in the headlines. And it feels like another trend, another thing that, just being shoveled at you. Certainly on social media, on TikTok, the hashtag Fibremaxxing, which is about adding as much fiber to your diet as you can, has got 150 million views, very similar numbers on Instagram. So you're really, really seeing this big enthusiasm for it. Feels like another trend, but here's the thing. The NHS itself, which is where we should be getting our health information from, says we should be getting 30 grams of fiber a day. 96% of people in the UK are not getting there, and we're basically getting halfway there, or on around 16 grams a day. So it is something that we should think about. Perhaps when I was growing up, fiber was about sort of keeping you regular, and it was sort of prunes and bran flakes and things like that. But really, fiber now has been shown to have a very, very wide variety of health benefits.
But why though? Why is it so important?
It's such a good question, because I think it was sort of the reason that it hasn't been focused on is because we sort of thought of it as the bit of plants that we can't digest. I mean, the reason we don't eat grass is because, unlike horses and cows, we can't digest these big structural molecules in plants. But in fact, it turns out that fiber is a much more complex array of molecules, and it does lots of things to us. So let me walk you through the different kinds of fiber. So first of all, we've got soluble fiber. And soluble fiber is things like oats, barley, lentils. Lots of fruit has them. I mean, lots of plants have got a bit of soluble fiber. And soluble fiber is the sort of slimy stuff. If you really want to see soluble fiber, put some chia seeds in water, cook some okra, and it gets that sort of sliminess to it. Now, that soluble fiber gets digested by the bugs in our microbiome. They make molecules that seem to be very good for our hearts, our brains, our immune systems. They're called short-chain fatty acids. So although we can't digest soluble fiber, the bugs in our gut can, and it's very, very good for us. It's associated with a lower risk of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, stroke, heart disease, bowel cancer, lots of benefits. We've then got insoluble fiber. Now, that's the kind of classic roughage that we think about. So that's like, if you look at a tree wood is made of insoluble fiber. So is grass, okay? But a lot of the stuff we eat is, partly it does sort of bulk up your stool so that it's a bit easier to go. It holds water in your gut, but that has very big effects on your risk of cancer. Then we've got prebiotic fiber. You don't need to know all of this, but I'm trying to make the point that there's a wide variety of different kinds of fiber coming from different foods. So things like garlic, onions, green bananas, asparagus. If you think of a garlic bulb or an onion bulb, they need to store energy for when the plant's going to grow. And those starches seem to be particularly associated with good health. And then we've got resistant starch. And that famously is in green bananas, so unripe bananas, or if you've cooked some carbohydrates like some starchy foods, potatoes, rice, maybe even bread, and then you freeze it and then toast it. It slightly alters the starch, so it seems to become much more healthy for us. So those are the 4 kinds of fiber. But basically, what I've walked you through there is a very wide range of fruit, vegetables, grains, legumes, all kinds of things, all of which contain really important stuff for your health.